Welcome to Something to Talk About. You heard the little lady. Would you get sick of the new intro? That's like a second or third time I've used it. It's a second so far, but I don't know how videos come out of they come out of order. It's okay. What do you guys think? This is season 3 of my A Song of Ice and Fire characters. November 11th is when it changes. It's after November 11th now. So 2 years ago, I did my first ever, which was Flemmet Brax. And then I did characters for a year. And then last year I redid Flemmet Brax when I started up season 2. So 2023, November 11th, all the way to 2024, November 11th, that was season 2. So we're now in season 3 for the next year. And I am promising to give you at least one, if not 2 or 3, and sometimes we do free weeks, characters a week. And we're starting off with Sybelle Glover. And what do you guys think of the new intro? You guys into it? I do have another one that we had filmed, but this one kind of, I really liked my daughter just screaming. Welcome to Something to Talk About. I thought it was great. So, hope you guys enjoy it because you're going to be hearing it for a while. All right. So if you don't know what's going on here, read this, go ahead. Also, I do have to state spoilers for Sybelle Glover and everything surrounding Sybelle Glover. So I will be covering her story in full in the books. And that goes all the way up to the final book, Dance with Dragons. A Dance with Dragons. So, yeah, keep that in mind. All right. So if you're not worried about being spoiled and you guys are ready to talk about Sybelle Glover, the Lady of Deepwood Motte, Robett Glover's wife, Robett, and Asha's captive. I will be coughing. I have a head cold, and hopefully it's going to be going away soon, but I really wanted to get these videos filmed, so I'm filming them. But yeah, I do have a head cold, so hopefully I do not sniffle too much, and if I do, I apologize, okay? Sorry. All right. Are you guys ready? Sybelle Glover. Well, this should be a quick one if I stop rambling. Sybelle Glover originally from House Locke. So we will be talking about, so for the second one, I covered Robett Glover not too long ago. So I didn't want to cover House Glover like twice so soon. So I'm actually, because she was born a Locke of House Locke, for my house slide, I will be covering Sybelle Locke. So House Locke. All right, cool. So she was born Sybelle Locke. What else? She is the wife of Robett Glover and the mother of a Gawen and a little baby, Erena Glover. In the absence of her brothers, Galbart and Robett, Sybelle is the Lady of Deepwood Motte. Sybelle is a pious woman who often prays to in the deep woods godswood. Yeah, she's pious, but not for the new gods, the faith, the god with 7 faces. Not that one. The old gods, right? She's very pious and she likes praying to them trees. So like I said, we are not covering Glover. We're covering House Locke. So let's get into House Locke. House Locke of Oldcastle is a noble house from Oldcastle. Imagine that. In the north, their banner is 2 bronze keys crossed on white and purple. There, you guys see it. The Locks ruled as firstmen kings after the long night, but they were eventually reduced to vassals by the kings of winter of House Stark. Yeah, it happens a lot up there. After the extinction of House Grey Stark way back in the day, the Flints held the Wolves' Den for a century, and then the Locks held it for almost 2 centuries. Yeah, so the Wolves' Den's over down by Newcastle, over by White Harbor, right? And the Grey Starks had it for a very long time, but then after they were killed out, that's when like other houses held it, and Locke is one of them. All right, so we're going back to Sybelle Glover now, and let's talk about her stuff. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. The Harvest Festival. So when Robett Glover and Galbart Glover travel south with Robb Stark to do a war, right? To do the War of the 5 Kings, they leave at Deepwood Motte in the hands of Sybelle. So if you want to hear more about that, like I just said, I just did a What's the Difference for Robett Glover. And that's like the tale of Tale of Two House Glovers, right? If you want to know what the head of the house and the head of the house brother Robett's doing and Galbart's doing, listen to that or go watch that. I don't know why watch it too. What's the difference? And that covers all that. But if you want to know what's going on at Deepwood Motte during all that time, because they are not at Deepwood Motte the entire books, watch the one that you're currently watching. Continue watching this, because that's what's going to happen with Sybelle is, for the most part, she's the story of Deepwood Motte. Okay, cool. So they leave to go to a war. And yeah, they leave Sybelle in charge. Bran receives Lords of the North at Winterfell for a harvest festival. Yeah, Bran Stark, who is the Stark of Winterfell at the time after Robb leaves, before he gets, before Theon goes and does his thing, has a little festival, has the harvest festival. And a lot of the Northern Lords come down and kind of like tell their grievances or don't have their grievances or pay homage or whatever, right? Get their festival on, right? So each of them having business to discuss. Sybelle stays home, but sends her steward. During the audience, the steward of Deepwood Motte arrives with apologies from Lady Sybelle Glover, who is tending to her young children, right? We're going to get to that. Not wanting to leave them behind or subject them to a long journey. That's kind of ironic because they're going to be having a lot of long journeys. Bran quickly realizes the steward is the true ruler of while Lord Galbart Glover and his brother Robett are away fighting. We never learn the identity of the steward. He's like the unnamed Glover steward. But he does have a lot of power, it seems, for now. Not very long, pretty quickly into the next slide, he's going to lose all his power. But at least for a little bit, we don't know who this dude is, but he does seem to be ruling Deepwood Motte right after Galbart and Robett leave. Okay. So the Ironborn. So when Balon Greyjoy wants to turn the War of 4 Kings into the War of 5 Kings, he invades the North. So we're talking about the Greyjoy joining this big war, right? It's like, dude, I was doing rebellions way before anyone else. And now the North, they're all fighting. I want in on this. I thought I was going to cough. Yeah, I want in on this. So he ratchets this up to the War of the 4 Kings into the War of the 5 Kings. Let's go. So he sends Asha Greyjoy to attack Deepwood Motte, where Sybelle is. So she takes 30 longships of picked men and sails north to Sea Dragon Point, and then around Sea Dragon Point, she lands on the tidal flats of the north of Deepwood and seizes the castle after a month-long siege with 1,000 Ironborn. Deepwood's steward loses his leg during the fighting. Yeah, he now just lost the house and a leg, so there goes the reign of the unnamed steward, all right? That didn't last long. Asha takes hostage Robett's family, so including Lady Sybelle Glover and her children, Gawen and Erena, as well as Lawrence Snow, the bastard of Hornwood. All these people are taken hostage. So, yeah, Greyjoys, boom, take over Deepwood Motte. So if you're starting to see, we don't have a lot with just Sybelle. And that's going to be the trend pretty much the rest of this. Unless I missed it, I went back and I watched or listened to all these chapters that she was in. And she only talks once in all of them. She's kind of like Asha's doing stuff. And then she thinks about Lady Sybelle or like, yeah, we don't really get a lot of Lady Sybelle. So I'm kind of apologizing for that now. Really wanted to cover this character because I really wanted to talk about everything that's going on in Deepwood Motte, because I really do think that that's kind of an important piece of all the North, because it keeps getting brought up. Multiple characters go there. Asha stays there for more than one chapter. Well, one chapter. But yeah, this is kind of a story about like all that, and Sybelle's the person to go through. So if you were like, how come we're not talking about Sybelle? She's not really around a lot. I tried. I'm literally giving you every time she's mentioned them. from the best of my abilities. Maybe I missed a passage here or two. So 10 Towers. After Balon dies, wow, that was a fast rebellion. Euron Greyjoy shows up to take control over the Iron Islands. Lord Roderick Harlaw announces that Balon intended to be succeeded by Asha Greyjoy and let her supporters arrive on Harlaw. So, yeah, Balon dies. Everyone finds out about it. And then Harlaw, Roderick the Reader, who I've done a video for, calls all of Asha's banners, essentially. He's like, everyone who's going to actually do what Balon wanted, you better come here, and we're gonna have to fight for this. We're gonna have to fight for it. So this is before the idea of a King's Moot gets called. So yeah, and her supporters arrive on Harlaw. Asha is at 10 Towers waiting for her supporters to arrive, and the feast is almost over. So now we're jumping into this chapter, and then Asha goes and speaks to an elderly woman who is a servant named Three Tooth. I looked a little bit into Three Tooth, and all there really was, besides this encounter that we're about to get into, is she's been a servant so long, even when her name used to be 12 Tooth. At what level of losing your teeth do you start counting how many you have left? And also that they become your name. Like if you're down to 12, people might not even notice you're missing too much. You must not have a lot going on in your personality if 12 teeth is the only thing that's interesting. It's kind of like left-hand Lucas Codd. That guy has nothing going for him that's positive. The only thing is that he's left-handed. That's it. The Greyjoys, not the best nicknamers. No, I'm sorry, but the Greyjoys are not the best nicknamers. All right? The Red Oarsman, his job in a random color. All right. Sorry. Where was I? So yeah, a servant named Three Tooth. She tells her to see to her crew and to her captives, including Sybelle and her kids. So along the way, Sybil's milk dried up. Remember, because Erna, her daughter, is actually an infant, or a little older than an infant, but she was still at the breast. And they had to stop at Stony Shore to search for a wet nurse for Erna. And instead, they couldn't find one. So they just got a goat. So Erna's just drinking goat milk. Asha wants them to have warm beds and a hot meal. So yeah, she's like, hey, Three Tooth, come over here. Tend to my crew, but also not only tend to my crew, but tend to my captives. Make sure that they have warm beds and warm food. Three Tooth was like, no, I'm not doing that. Three Tooth says, we have cold beef. So she offers, we have cold beef and a jar of mustard. And Asha's like, yeah, no. So she says that it won't serve, but like, no, not cold beef and mustard. They had a really hard crossing and they need something hot in their bellies. So she says, no, come on, get them some real food. And Asha says that Lady Glover and her children should not want for food nor warmth, and that they should stay in some tower, not the dungeons, and that the baby is sick. So 3-2 says babies get sick and die all the time, and she just seems not to care. So she says that she will go ask her lord what the lord wants. So she's just not listening to Asha. So Asha grabs her nose. She grabs the old lady literally like by the nose and then says that you will listen to me and you will feed these kids warm food with a warm bed or you will be sorry. Yeah, it was I almost missed that this encounter happened, and I actually really enjoy it. I'm glad I got to talk about it here. I don't think I ever brought it up in any of my other videos, but yeah, she grabs this servant by the nose. Listen here. It's pretty funny. Okay, so yeah, so Sybelle's now at 10 Towers, right? Like, you see what I'm saying? She's never really in the foreground of any of these chapters. She's always brought up kind of, oh, and Sybelle's here. Oh, and we're doing this. So she got brought from Deepwood Motte now to 10 Towers because everyone's rallying their banners. This is before the King's Moot gets decided or gets announced that they're even doing one. So, yeah, they had a really rough journey with the 2 kids. She's still just held captive from Asha, but you can tell Asha's not an awful person. She's not torturing or treating these people very badly. Well, I mean, they're being held captive against her will and brought away from their home. So, I mean, that sucks, but it's not being needless. She's not being needlessly mean. And she's like, hey, get them a warm bed, get them something to eat. And, if she has to pull an old lady's nose in order to get what she wants, Asha Greyjoy will do it. All right. That's a weird sentence. So back at Deepwood, Asha returns to Deepwood with Sybelle after they received tidings that Euron had married her to Eric Anvilbreaker. Okay. What? So Euron wins the King's Moot. So then Asha immediately tries to flee. And she makes it to 10 Towers, and Roderick the Reader's like, no, go. Get out of here. Go. Like, Euron's not going to treat you well. You need to skedaddle. Here, have a book to read. And so she does. And then while she's away, Euron marries her off to Eric Anvilbreaker, who's this really old and really large dude, who in the wedding ceremony, this isn't important to Sybelle Glover, but in the wedding ceremony, as a stand-in for Asha, they used a seal. And that's really funny to me. I love the idea of like a seal and like a wig and a dress. And Eric Anvil like doing like, I know they didn't have cameras, but doing selfies like, like I married my wife today. And it's just this dumb seal. I'm very easily amused, guys. Okay, so she no longer, so she now lingers at Deepwood Motte, knowing that she cannot return to the islands without having to submit to her new husband, which probably sounds pretty awful. When a letter from the Boltons arrive at Deepwood, so this was sent from Barrowtown, I believe, Asha, this is a letter that had some of Theon's skin, and it's written most likely in blood. Yeah, so the Maester of Deepwood brings her this letter, and then she goes, yeah, why don't you bring this? He's like, should I show Lady Sybelle this? And she's like, yeah, whatever, sure. So he brings her the letter, brings Sybelle the letter, and Sybelle at this time is spending all of her time in the Godswood praying for the safe return of her children and her husband. Her children? Yeah, because they leave the children at 10 Towers with the Harlaws and Asha's aunts. So Sybelle's back at Deepwood, but she doesn't even have her kids. And since Erna was still on the breast, she judged her too delicate to cross the ocean again. So Asha's like, I don't think your kids should keep crossing from Iron Islands back to North, so on and so forth. So Asha leaves her kids there. And I feel really bad for Sybelle because she's still being held hostage, and at least she's back at her home. And she, like I said, I don't think her captivity is too awful, but yeah, she's just spending her entire time praying in the Godswood, wishing that her family would come back, both her kids from the Iron Islands and her husband from war. So yeah, Sybelle's got it rough, dude. So where was I? Yeah, they left him at 10 Towers. So okay, so where was I? Asha and so Asha is staying in Galbart Glover's bedchamber. So not in Robett and Sybelle's. I'm assuming this is a different person's. This is Galbart's chamber, so it's not like she's kicking her out of her own bed. With Karl the Maid. I'm not going to get into the crazy stuff that Asha and Karl the Maid get into, but I will say, after some post-coital cheese, some post-sex cheese, yeah, she has some crazy rough time with Karl, and then she's like, I'd go for some cheese. So Asha's just having cheese in the middle of the night, and that's when all this goes down that I'm about to say. So the alarm is raised, and a single survivor, so the North attacks, but only 5 people. And she finds this one survivor, Asha finds this one survivor, and it's a Flint. And he claims that all they were doing is that they were just trying to attempt to save Lady Glover. So Sybelle, he's like, oh yeah, we're just here to try to get Sybelle. But Asha could tell he's lying. And then after some brutal torture, she's like twisting the spear in. It's brutal. Some brutal interrogation, right? Some aggressive negotiations. He reveals the truth. And the true purpose is to open the gate for the 3,000 Northmen that are coming to take Deepwood Motte. Yeah, so they get this person who's trying to attack with just a couple people, and the alarm is sounded, and Asha goes out, interrogates him, and then he's like, "We're just here to save Sybelle," and she's like, "No," and he goes, "All right, fine. We're here pretty much to scout and open the gate for the army behind us," and she's like, "Whoops, let's go." So, yeah, this it takes a while for them to actually decide what they're doing. So 3,000 men are coming to take Deepwood Motte. So they kill the Flint, the guy who they captive, and then she summons Sybelle. And specifically says, "Don't harm her, just bring her." She's like, "Go get Sybelle unharmed, please." So Sybelle comes from the Godswood in the arm of her bedmaid, and Sybelle says, "I warned you that this day would come, my lady." And she says, looking at the corpse of the Flint, and the Glover Maester then begins to beg Asha to take down her banners so that they can bargain for. He's like, "Give up now." And then Sybelle says, so this is the only time we actually hear Sybelle talk, unless I missed it. She says, "We will exchange you for my children, Gawen, and So yeah, she says that we will exchange you for the children. Gawen is 4 now. I missed his name day, and my sweet girl, give my children back to me, and no harm will come to you nor to your men." And that's what Sybelle tries to promise. She's like, "Just give me back my family. Like, give up and give me back my family, and I'll make sure no harm comes to you or your men." And yeah, so she says that, but Asha knows, even if Sybelle tries to mean that, even if Sybelle's telling the truth, there's no way that her men will not be harmed. Like, she's like, "Oh, you could probably argue for safe passage for me and maybe like some of the higher name guys, but my like men, like Grimtongue, like, unnamed, not Botley's, not Greyjoy's, not Harlaw's, they are probably going to be." And she doesn't want to do that. Like, that's not how Ironborn go, man. Ironborn don't just like get executed. We die in fights. I don't know why I said we. I'm not an Ironborn. I do live in Minnesota, so that's kind of Viking territory. Well, I mean, I live near Minnesota. Deal with it. Okay, I am a Vikings fan. That makes me Ironborn. Joking. So yeah, she's like, "There's no way that my men would be safe." So Asha then asks her men if they should surrender, and they're all like, "No!" And then she's like, "To the walls then!" And they're all about to fight. And then she thinks on it a little longer, and then they're like, "No, we should go." So they decide to abandon Deepwood Motte as the 3,000 people come. She's like, "No, let's just try to get to our ships. Let's go." So they're going. Lady Glover. So Asha and her followers abandon Deepwood Motte, and when Stannis Baratheon and the Northmen clans appear, they retake the seat of the Glovers, so they go past and then go and capture Asha and a few other people, and then a lot of them get held at Deepwood, and Asha gets taken from Stannis, right? So there are some higher up Ironborn prisoners who are being held at Deepwood by Sybelle. So Sybelle is now freed when the army of Stannis Baratheon reaches Deepwood Motte. She sends as many Glover men, because there are still Glover men, with King Stannis on the March of Winterfell. She's like, "Here, you can have anyone I got left. Go and take down these Boltons," including guides, trackers, and hunters. So then much later, as Stannis is marching on Winterfell and Asha is captive, Tycho Nestoris, who is a representative to the Iron Bank of Bravos. I do have a video for Tycho Nestoris. Go check it out. But he is traveling all around the north, and he goes up to the wall, has some cool conversations with Jon, and then he heads over to Deepwood Motte, where Sybelle Glover is. So he travels, and there he pays Sybelle for a ransom of 6 Iron Men, including Christopher Botley, Fingers, just a guy named Fingers, Grimtongue, Carl the Maid, Rook, and Regan the Rustbeard. Yeah, those are the people that he ransoms off, buys off Sybelle. And yeah, the Ironborn then, with 2 men from the Night's Watch, escort Tycho as he goes through the snow towards Winterfell looking for Stannis. He does eventually find Stannis, and Asha gets reunited with her men. That's it. That's all we got. That's all we got for Sybelle. Like I said, not too much. She's kind of mentioned a lot. Just it is kind of just an Asha video, right? But she's mentioned just a lot in Asha's chapters, so it ended up being an Asha video. But yeah, that's the story as of we know. So right now, she is still in charge of Deepwood, and yeah, she had some Ironborn people there, and then she has given them to Tycho Nestoris. He like grants them, he like buys them off her, right? And we don't know if she's been reunited with her kids yet. I'm assuming not. So that's it. And we know that she has not been united with Robett, who is still making his way back home. He's making his way downtown. All right. Okay. So let's get into some theories. I don't got too much. Just some tinfoil. I only got a little bit of tinfoil. Could only find a little. Enough for one sandwich. I found a goofy theory by Cantus on Reddit called "A Grieving Woman Betrays a Massive Secret," in which he speculates that Sybelle and Tycho both know about the Theon the Latecomer. So Torgon the Latecomer is a old Ironborn story about a King's Moot, and one guy wasn't there, and then when he showed up 2 years later, it's like a whole thing, and it's kind of paralleling Theon. So a lot of people think I did do a my only A Song of Ice and Fire librarian video. I only did one. And that's on that book, The History of the Ironborn, and they do talk about Torgon the Latecomer in that book. So if you want to know kind of more about this theory, I highly suggest you go check out that video, because that will explain it a lot. But this guy speculates that that Sybelle and Tycho have both watched that video, and they both know about this theory, and that she is somehow trying to work to get, like, Theon back into power, which seems really weird to me. And it's all part of this grand plan. It doesn't really hold too much water. Yeah, I don't really know why Sybelle would be even care about that, but he breaks it down. So mostly a lot of the essay is breaking down a grieving mother and a wife doing anything to keep her kids alive. So that aspect of the Reddit post is really interesting. No, I do not think that she is working to get Theon in power. I don't think Sybelle cares. But yeah, that's it. Not too much besides that. She's a very small character, and I do love Asha chapters, so it was a good reason to go back and listen to them, which I did. I enjoyed it. That's it, guys. This ended up being longer than I thought. For a character that doesn't have too much about him, I rambled too much. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for putting up with me kind of a little under the weather, so I'm not quite my high energy self. I'm still more high energy than most people, but I'm not as that. And welcome to season 3. I'm assuming I'm putting out a post showing you guys who I have planned coming up. There's probably a live stream that happened. I'm filming this pretty far in advance. What do you think of the new intro? And there, you guys excited for another year of A Song of Ice and Fire content? And I literally, my long list has this entire year planned. I have at least one, if not more than one a week planned until this time next year. So already I know the entire year. I am a little crazy. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.